We've had to try that several times because Louisa kept telling me I'm being inappropriate.
You are being very inappropriate.
And who am I, Louisa? You need to
You
say
are
my name. Say
Caroline.
my name.
Hello, Caroline.
Yeah. I am inappropriate, aren't I? I think I have an issue.
No, it's good. But you are. Yes, I will say you are very inappropriate. I can also be quite appropriate at times as well. I'm no saint. But we're back again. WTF stories and advice. What have you got for me today?
Well, I'm going to have a lot of advice because that's all I do is tell people what to do. And
That's what you do for a job. You're a hypnotherapist.
I'm a hypnotherapist and a life coach and a sex therapist and fucking know-it-all is what I really am.
You do it.
And you are...
A radio producer.
You're a radio producer extraordinaire. You are the celebrity whisperer, aren't you?
Am I?
You must have some stories about naughty celebrities. I've heard some from some of the colleagues
We've
on
never
the show.
really had any divas on our show.
Really?
Nah.
Oh, I've heard a good few, but
Nah,
actually not from your show.
No one I could say that. Like, most of the guests we've had have actually been really lovely.
Oh, that's good.
Like, we had Catherine Tate the other week. You know, that funny
Like,
English
who's that?
actress?
Catherine
The ginger.
Tate.
And she goes, am I bothered? I ain't bothered. I ain't bothered. That one? You don't know her? If you saw a
No.
photo, you'd know her.
I would know.
Anyway, she's quite famous in the UK, and we had her, and she was so lovely and hilarious.
Was she doing impressions with Sam or something like?
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
was like
She was doing
talking in the background, or like talking like an old woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of her characters. She's like Mr. G and Jonah Takalua. You don't know that either?
No,
It's
no
another TV
idea.
series.
Yeah.
She plays all the characters, basically.
Nice. That's talent.
Yeah, she's great. But yeah, this is us, and we're also talented. Oh,
Yeah. Well, that's debatable, but
Very
hey,
debatable.
people seem to be listening. I don't know who you are.
Hello.
Hello? It's probably just my mother.
Yeah, it literally.
Well, it's not yours.
No, it literally will be Jill sitting at home listening
I thought
1,000 times.
Does your mother like the show? My mother had all kinds of advice for me.
Same. A lot of feedback on it.
Oh, God. So it's interesting how many different careers you can have in a lifetime. And I wanted to be a therapist since I was 10. But I started studying psychotherapy at university, and when you realize how many years you actually have to study to become a psychotherapist and how little money you make, like waitressing or doing babysitting or whatever else I did, I always was very into hair and makeup, so I thought, well, I'll become a hairdresser as well, and then I can support myself while I study. And in the States, you make very good money if you work in good salons and stuff as a hairdresser. Like in New Zealand, you make bugger all. You make nothing. But in the States, you can make a ton. Mm-hmm. And so I became a hairdresser while I was kind of studying as well. And so when I was probably about 21, 22, I was working in this salon in San Francisco. It was on Polk Street. If you know San Francisco, very kind of gay area. It was like 12 gay men and me. And it was...
Yeah. It was like little blonde.
I know. I'm like, hi. And they're, and half of them are transsexual and dressed up in these. Oh, it was fabulous. I loved it. I was so in my element because that's how I was raised, basically. Yeah. And so one day, I think I had 2 clients at the time, and I asked the receptionist to do something for me. Like, can you go grab me this? And it was this little queen. He was such a diva. His name was Alejandro. He was from South America, and he was like, I am not your slave. And I said, well, you do work here. Can you please help me for 2 seconds? Oh, no, I am busy doing my makeup. And he's like sitting there and I was like, you little bitch, come here. And he was like, oh, are you going to punish me? And I said, damn right I am. And I took a hairbrush and I smacked it on his ass, and it broke. Right? So he goes running off. And my client, who is a very just normal looking woman in her 30s, blonde, long hair, like you would just think she was a soccer mom or something, maybe a little bit better than a soccer mom. And she was like, have I ever told you what I do for a living? And I said, no, actually you haven't. And she said, well, I'm a dominatrix, and I think you have real potential. And I was like, really? And she said, you should come to my house. I've been looking for a protege or someone to work with that I could train up. Don't you even say bullshit. I swear
No,
to
I was
God.
not going to say bullshit. I was going to say, please tell me you said no.
Oh, and I said, I would love to. So,
Oh my God.
No, okay, number one, I wouldn't become a dominatrix. But I was in my angry at men phase, right? Like, I thought men were assholes. I'd had some serious trauma with men. And so I'm like, all right, I was a bit angry. I'll admit that. And so, but I thought, I'm just going to go check this shit out, right? Like, I am the worst. Like, if curiosity could kill you, I would have been dead. Like, I don't even know when. And so I go along to her place, and she lived in the Castro in San Francisco, which is, again, a very predominantly gay area, and a beautiful Victorian home mansion that would have been worth millions of dollars. Go in, it is like to die for. She comes in, she's still like dressed in the Gap, right? She's like totally casual, blah, blah, blah. She shows me her dungeon, which is like full, like got the rack and the whips and everything on the walls, and she's obviously got all this bondage
Like
gear.
full 50 Shades of Grey.
Full 50 Shades of Grey. Like the house is bought for her by a client. We go upstairs. She opens this little door under the stairs. I shit you not. She puts her shoe in. She's like, lick it. And this man's face comes out and licks her shoe. No,
you're
I swear to God,
the piss.
on my mother's life, again. Yeah. So he licks
How
the shoe.
do you get yourself into these situations?
You just say yes.
Oh,
that sounds
God.
cool. And so, yeah, it slams the door in his face, and she was just like, so, and we sit down, and she, like, makes me this beautiful coffee in her espresso machine, and she was like, you know, I just honestly think you have potential, and we kind of looked alike, you know, like, kind of similar build, and blonde, and, yeah, and I would just love to take you on, and, I mean, she made, like, unbelievable money, right? And
you considered it, didn't you?
I did for about a millisecond, but for me, I don't know, I was just like, it's just not my bag, you know? Yeah, I would be like, what happened to you? Why did your mother do something mean to you? For me, I would want to, number one, figure out why they're like that. And number two, try to heal it.
Yeah, and that's not what you mean to
No,
do.
that's not what you do. Like, I couldn't monetize off someone's, like,
Fetish.
Psychoses, you know what I mean, or you know their issue, and who am I to judge, right? But I would be like, there's something wrong. It's like the adult baby thing, you know what I mean? I'd be like, what happened when you were a baby that you're trying to act this stuff out? But it was really interesting, and yeah, man, yeah, she came to me as a client for another like year or two, and it was hilarious. And she always was just like, honestly, you just have such potential, you have no idea.
She'd be like, please come work with me.
Yeah, and I think. I don't know, some part of me could have done it, but yeah, again, well, for me, if I hurt someone, even accidentally, I like cry. If someone tried to break in my house, different story. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
like if you say in that wheelie chair right now, if you ran over my toe, you'd be like, oh my God.
I would like cry. I feel so bad. I like never want to hurt anyone. So to whip someone and cause them
no
pain,
chance.
No, even if they got off on it, I'd still be like, I'm sorry. Yeah. So,
wow.
Another lifetime, I could have been a dominatrix.
Bet on.
Yeah. I would have been good too, but yeah, no, probably not, because I would be like, here, oh, do you want some cream on that? It looks a bit sore.
I'm glad that you said no. There's a new article, a new thing going around. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you call it a trend. It's called the BDE.
BDE.
Do you want to know what it stands for?
Yeah.
Big dick energy.
Oh, hell yeah, honey.
And having a penis is not a prerequisite.
I think I have big dick energy.
You are the queen of BDE. When I read this, I was like, Caroline.
Damn straight.
Yeah, so basically, I'll just read it out what the Urban Dictionary says that BDE is. BDE is described as confidence without cockiness. It is never misplaced and it cannot be simulated. It is the sexual equivalent of writing a check for $10,000 knowing that you got it in the bank. So like a lot of celebrities would have BDE, like Tom Hardy, Robert Downey Jr.,
Apparently
Rock.
Tom Hardy is hung like a horse. Same with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Tom Hardy's massive and muscly, so I can imagine that. Harry Styles also has BDE.
I met Harry Styles. What? I met him at that bar I was telling you about, the 1885.
No, you haven't.
That night I told you where I got in. You have to listen to a previous one about getting into anywhere. Yeah, so I got in, and he's down there, and I'm standing next to him at the bar.
Harry
like,
Styles from One Direction.
Yeah, this is years ago. And he's down there, and my friend's like, oh my God, he's famous. And I was like, are you famous? Good for you. And I tapped him.
How dare you do that to
He
Harry?
was like, thanks. I think it was
my
the
God.
first time
Him
One
and-
Direction came to New Zealand. I had no idea.
Him and Bieber are like my 100% my number one go-to. Like, how do
Were you
I
like
can't
12 then?
No, it's still now. I can't believe that you.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
little
aren't you
Harry.
cute? Yeah, I had no idea.
Well, anyway,
BDE,
he's-
that's interesting, though.
He's got BDE. So does Rihanna, Serena Williams.
Rihanna totally has BDE.
Yeah.
BDE, am I saying it correctly?
How to spot BDE energy. Someone with BDE energy is relaxed, confident in themselves. They're not shy or quiet, but they're not arrogant either. And they're certainly not overcompensating for anything. If you have BDE, you might walk with a bit of attitude, but it's not try hard. You don't put on a cocky swagger in the hope of making a point of drawing attention to yourself. You just stride with confidence.
There's this comedian, I can't remember what her name is. It's like Samore, and it's Big Man's Conversation. Mm-hmm. And she talks about how if you have a big dick, you can talk in a certain way to a woman. Of like, where you been? Why haven't you gotten back to me? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, if you've got a big dick, I'll allow it. But if you've got a small dick, honey, you better fucking whisper that shit. And it's like, oh, I've been missing you. And yeah, you better hand. She was like, some of you boys have dicks so small, you better just hand a bitch a note. That is all you
God,
got. She's hilarious.
Ruthless.
But I think it's a little bit true. And not that it really actually matters what size it is. It's all in your attitude.
See, I would say that is not true. If a man tried to speak to me like that, I'd just say no. No chance. Go away.
Yeah, pretty much, actually. It doesn't matter how big your dick is.
No.
And just because you have a big dick doesn't mean you're good in bed. No.
It doesn't.
And there is too big. That's for sure. But you can't make butter
Well,
with a
this has
toothpick.
gone off track from energy to size. Wow.
Anyways, so BDE. I have another client story for you, Louisa, because I don't know, that's like all I do is work. So that's where half my stories come from. I had this interesting one years ago. And this woman came to me and she was kind of stuck in her career. She had been very, very successful in her career for a long time. And then she said, you know, she was just kind of holding herself back and she had lost her confidence and she had a lot of anxiety. And so I did this muscle testing. You know, I've talked about muscle testing before.
Kinesiology.
Yeah, just asking the body because they're like, I don't know where it comes from. And so I did the muscle testing and it was like, oh, what happened in I don't even remember what year it was. And she looks at me and she was like, I don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, okay, got to talk about it. And she's like, no, you won't believe me. Can you just deal with, that's why I came to a hypnotherapist, just deal with the issue and tell me I'm not going to feel that way. And I said, well, it doesn't really work like that. You need to tell me what's happened. And she said, okay, but I've been to therapists before and they haven't believed me, so I'm a little bit wary to tell you. And I said, just try me, you know, why would you come and tell the therapist a lie? You know, most people won't do that, right? You're there to get help. You're not going to just make up crap.
It's a waste of money.
Yeah, it is. You're not helping anybody. Maybe you might do that in in front of people you don't know or whatever, but not when you're paying for it. And so she tells me that she lived in, again, I don't want to say what country, another country, and had this experience where it was like a dream, right? And one night she wakes up and she's in like a spaceship. And she looks over and there's like all these little like gray men. She says exactly like the big eyes and they're gray and blah, blah, blah.
Aliens.
Yeah, like aliens. Like what she was telling me was she had experienced an alien abduction. And she looks over and she sees her husband like on the other table and they're kind of like putting instruments in them. And she was newly pregnant. She was like 10 or 11 weeks. And she's freaking out, right? But she couldn't move. She was totally paralyzed. And it was really like these just few flashes. So she wakes up in the morning and she's like, oh, bad dream. And her husband wakes up. Like she looks over her husband. They're back in their bed. They had, I think, 1 or 2 other small children at the time. And her husband went, oh my God, I had this horrible dream. We were abducted by aliens and they're putting instruments into us. And she's like, oh my God, and freaks out.
I had the same dream.
I had the same dream. She gets up, she goes to the bathroom. She's got a cut in her belly button, above her pubic bone, and to the side on her stomach, like laparoscopic surgery. And she said they were already kind of healed, but they were definitely little pink lines. And she's like feeling her tummy and she's thinking, I'm not pregnant. And so she goes back and tells her husband, and he said, I saw them putting instruments into you and like pulling something out of you. And she,
What?
yeah, you like never believe me. This, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what someone who is actually very well respected and well known and didn't seem crazy in the slightest to me. And so she immediately calls her doctor. She says, I want another scan. And he said, well, you're going to have to wait another week. It's, I think she was due for her 12-week scan. So she waits. She does not feel pregnant at all. She goes and there is no baby. No baby. And she didn't even she said then she started spotting. So she's freaking out. No baby. Baby's gone.
So the aliens have stolen the baby.
Yes.
No.
You don't believe me.
No. I believe a lot of things. Oh. That is a big old yarn. I'm calling bullshit on that one.
No, well, okay. I swear to God, this is what she told me.
I know. Okay, yeah.
But she was so... she did not want to tell me this story in the beginning. And like I said, people just tend to tell me shit.
Her and her husband have this...
So they were totally traumatized. She developed total anxiety. She stopped working. She moved back to New Zealand.
Maybe. Okay.
They split up. Yeah.
Here's me with my scientific theory. Okay. What's happened, I reckon.
Yeah.
They've had some weird mental thing where they both had the same dream. They were actually not aliens. She's had a miscarriage.
Yeah. But wouldn't you bleed? Wouldn't you bleed quite heavily?
Maybe.
She says she spotted a little bit that week, but something that you could actually have experienced when you're pregnant. Which I've had that. I've spotted while I was pregnant. But she said it wasn't like a period. And then I think she bled a month later. Because I was really asking questions. I am not a gullible person, right? I question people. And I just know when people are full of shit. And, okay, it may not have happened. I'll give you that. Again, I never say I know exactly what happened because who knows. But she 100% truly believed that this had happened to her. So, I don't know. It freaked me out, though. I was a bit I don't want to be abducted by aliens. But, do you believe in aliens?
I don't know. Yes.
Do you know there's as many planets as there are grains of sand in this universe?
No, there's not.
Yes. They can't even track how big the universe is.
Well, there's got to be an end to the universe.
There is no end. There is no end. There are so many planets. There are so many suns. There are so many solar systems. Yeah, I've never seen an alien
Well, there's
before.
Obviously life on these grains of
to think that we are the
sand.
only life in the universe... To me, that's very arrogant.
I can't deal with this topic on a Sunday. This just makes my brain hurt. This is too much. Because then it just reminds me of there's obviously other things out there, and we think that we're the only ones. Oh no, I can't. Too much.
Well, interesting. Though.
Too much universe chat.
Okay, sorry.
Make me question life. No.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Does that make you think?
Well, there's obviously maybe there's more humans on these planets.
But there's been aliens or UFO sightings. I had several friends going to university in Phoenix, for instance, and they had thousands and thousands of people see UFOs on the same night. It was some massive UFO that went, and it was kind of in a boomerang shape. I think they call it the Phoenix Lights, and it's this huge documented case of everybody, and it was on the news and everything, seen a UFO.
It's
that was
the same
massive.
as the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and stuff.
I don't believe in that bullshit. But then I know people that do.
See, it's the same thing. They're just these myths. I believe in the Loch Ness Monster.
I believe in UFOs though. All these major people from NASA and all these high level government agencies are all coming out and saying
found anything by now.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting. Well, I think they have. They've covered it up. My grandfather was a colonel and a doctor in the Army. And they lived in New Mexico, right by Roswell. And I think he was stationed there. And my father is a total non-believer, right? He's the biggest atheist you've ever met. He used to be quite into church when I was little, but then couldn't, he like doesn't believe in God. It's all over when life, when you die, that's it, over. Doesn't believe in aliens. So I was talking about some alien sighting. It might have been when that Phoenix thing happened, because I had several friends at university see it, and they all saw the same thing from different areas. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, that's a load of crap. Your grandfather, we were at Roswell, or, we were in New Mexico, and it was a weather balloon. He came home and told us it was a weather balloon and not to believe what was in the papers. And so the next Thanksgiving, I was like, Granddaddy, because he was from the South, he was from Georgia, and he looked like the Colonel Sanders from KFC. I shit you not, he was a spitting image. He had the Southern accent, and and he was like,
did he make wicked wings?
No, he didn't cook. My grandmother did all the cooking. Granny did the cooking. And I said, oh, I hear that you saw the weather balloon at Roswell, then it was an alien. And he's like, I never said that. And my dad was like, Dad, you said it was not a UFO. And he was like, I can't talk about it legally. I take it to my grave. And it was like, that was it. And my father was like, but Dad, no, you. And he was like, end of discussion. He was like, that was it. And I was like, ha. I'm like pointing at my father from across the table going, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, he would not. And he was the type of man that would have taken that stuff to the grave. And I'll talk about this in another podcast. I found evidence that he had been involved in some interesting experiments at the Presidio, which is another military base in San Francisco that,
Ooh, write that down.
He was a photographer, and I found a trunk with some very interesting photographs. And I've got a friend who was with me at the time, and we are still friends, and so she can back me up on it. It's
because now you think I don't believe anything. Because
I know. Well, these are everything. You're like, I don't believe it, but until you have people tell you this stuff, so I don't know. It's just how can you really think that that's it and there's nothing else there? I just don't. I don't know how you can believe that either. No, I think there's some crazy people out there.
I definitely think there's stuff out there, but I don't believe that there's 10,000 million planets.
Oh, Louisa, that's actually scientifically proven.
Okay,
right,
okay, I believe you.
Okay, this is what I don't believe. The flat earthers. If you're a flat earther, you're nuts. Like honey, you need to go. I don't know.
I'm not a flat earther. I'm not
saying you. I'm not saying you.
I was like, excuse
me. But there's this whole movement of people that believe the Earth is flat, and it's like, oh, good Lord, honey, no. Yeah. So bit of a. I don't know.
Universal chat?
Universal. Are we really alone?
Boop, 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 boop. I saw an article the other day around this girl who had gone on a Bumble date. So first Bumble date.
Yeah.
And she, basically, it was just like, it was as if it was their, 5th year anniversary or something. It was so extravagant. He ended up taking her up in this plane, and like the whole thing was just like the most romantic, extravagant thing you've ever heard of, like something that you do for someone that you absolutely adored and loved to pieces. And this was their first Bumble date, but it reminded me of
OTT. Yeah,
it was pretty OTT. Reminded me of probably I don't know if you call it I'd say romantic, probably the most romantic thing that someone's ever done for me. So when I was younger, I think I must have been maybe 21.
Yeah.
My boyfriend at the time...
2 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, 3.
My boyfriend at the time was like, oh, let's go out for dinner tonight or something. I was like, sweet. He texted me at about 5 and was like, go check the front door. So I was like, what's going on here? And there was a note, and it said... rug up in something warm and bring your car keys, check the letterbox. So I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Walk down to the letterbox, there's another note there, and it says, hop in your car, drive down to the letterbox on the left with the monkey on it. And this was this letterbox that we always used to look at, and like would always be like, oh, the monkey letterbox.
So sending you on like a, what do they call that, a something hunt?
A scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
And so I get to that letterbox, underneath it there's another note, and it says, check under your windscreen wiper, use that money to fill up petrol at the Caltex on Island Road. This is in Christchurch in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I drive to this petrol station.
Or gas station.
Gas station. Fill up Pavarotti. Rest in peace, my old car. Terrible little Audi A3 was a piece of shit. Anyway, fill up Pavarotti. Then the note, and then also on that note, it said check where you'd wipe your hands at the petrol station. You know how you have those machines that would have the toilet or like the hand paper towels.
Yeah.
So then on there was another note saying, drive to this restaurant there. I was always like, oh, I really want to go there. And he was like, I'll meet you inside, but don't forget to check the door on the way in. So then I check I'm about to go into this restaurant, check the door, and there's another note that says, oops, fully booked, drive round to Hagley Park and turn left at this little car park where we sometimes would go, turn left there, and he's there with a picnic, like all my favourite.
So he was never going to take you to the restaurant, was he?
Wait.
No. Anyway, sorry.
And he was there with a picnic with all my favourite foods and like platters and all my favourite cheeses and wine and everything.
Nice.
And then we ended up going to this other really nice restaurant that evening.
Oh.
It was just so cute.
Oh, that's lovely.
For being like 2021, it was actually so cute. And it wasn't, some things can be cringe and you're like, oh my God, this is horrific.
Yeah.
This was actually like really nice and cute and thought out, and it was just divine.
There's nothing like a romantic man, is there?
Yeah, I love a good present of flowers or like just little things. I'm quite
my partner
romantic.
now is romantic, and I think it's so important. Like, he took
any woman who says, oh, I'm not into that kind of stuff, bullshit. They want you to be romantic. They want flowers. They want gifts. They want cute surprise dinners. Like, any girl that says that is just trying to be like, oh, no, I'm not like them.
No, that's me. They're saying that because they don't have a partner that does that type of stuff for them. And, I don't know. I'm not a huge gift person. Like, gifts tend to kind of, like, make me feel anxious because I'm like, if it's not exactly what I wanted, then I feel like a bitch that I don't want it. But... yeah, my partner is super romantic. Like, flew me to Queenstown and proposed on the gondola, and like got on one knee. And whereas like my first husband, oh God, he like slid a box across the table and going, oh yeah, you've been waiting for that, haven't you? And it was like,
how dare
if I hadn't flown over to the other side of the world, I would have said, take your ring and shove it up your ass. I would have it was so unromantic. So at least I got
You got a second time lucky.
Yeah. That actually wasn't my second proposal, but we won't go into that.
Ooh, I want to know about
the
that.
second one I accepted. Yeah. And it was lovely. So, I love romantic men.
I hope that I get proposed to one day.
You will.
One day.
I've been proposed to at least 5 times, so you'll be fine.
Well, I hope my age. I'd probably just prefer one person to propose to me and me actually want to marry them rather than just random.
Oh, it's terrible when you got to say no. And you almost like, it's like, no, I think I've said yes every time at the time because I just didn't have the heart to say.
But also, how do you get to a point where the other person in the relationship thinks that you want to get married to them?
People get delusional.
You must be giving off some vibes.
Well, I'm not even going to go into that, but yeah.
It's a story for another day.
No, I'm just super special. That's what it is, Louisa. God.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back. And to everyone who's doing Dry July like me, keep it up. Willpower.
You can do it.
I don't know how much longer I can last.
No.
But we'll see.
I'll give you 2 more days.
Yeah, fair call.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I know. We should put some money on this.
We should make a bet.
That always motivates me more. Oh, yeah. So that's us. Oh, and... if you want to contact us, we've been having some people contact us through the Facebook page, and like our Facebook page, there's like nothing on it, to be totally honest. We need to get better with social media, though you're the expert in that. So Louisa,
Facebook's dead. It's Instagram.
Oh, sorry. I'm an art dinosaur, so what the hell do I know?
Email us.
Yeah, but email us, WTFstoriesandadvice@gmail.com, and we would love to tell your story, probably in a way that'll make you cringe, but
or advice. Whatever you
questions.
Need, we're here.
Yeah, because I just like to talk out my ass constantly and tell people what to do. So, yeah.
So send it to us.
It's one of my specialties.